Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I'd like to introduce Master Okawa's teachings on the abortion issue. The reason why is because it's the third day since this Roe v. Wade issue and the abortion rights has been spoken about in a lot of the media. And there is a huge conflict between Judeo-Christian value people, conservative people against people who are liberal, and they're talking about what should be right. So, as a religion, today I'm just gonna share with you Master Okawa's spiritual teachings on what actually occurs when you go through an abortion. What happens to the soul of the child? And the reason why I want to put this out into public is because I just want to provide Lord Alcantara, the modern day Messiah's teachings on abortion, so that we can gain a food for thought on both sides, so that both sides can consider what's a better direction for this country. So I'm going to be reading excerpts from three books. One is How to Become a Chosen One. This is an internally published book, so you can purchase it at Happy Science Temples. And then Healing from Within. This is sold outside of Happy Science. You can get it in bookstores or Amazon. And then, that's my memo. My Journey Through the Spirit World. This is also sold in bookstores and Amazon. So let me quote each one. It's about 2 to 3 pages for each one. And some of them overlap, some teachings overlap, but it's like a new, different take on abortion. So I'd like to introduce all three. So the first one is How to Become a Chosen One, page 55. And I quote, "The problem with abortion. Furthermore, there is a problem of abortion. Happy Science teaches that the soul of a baby enters its mother's belly at the 9th week of pregnancy. Someone who thinks of a human simply as a physical being has no idea about the soul and may think nothing of having an abortion. But the truth is that on reaching the 9th week of pregnancy, a soul inhabits the mother's womb, and although tiny, a completely new human is created. A full-grown soul in the heavenly world will come to reside in the mother's belly in a form rather like a glowing firefly. However, there are many practices of abortion going on, and many of these souls that reside in the mother's womb are actually being killed. If those who are killed were actually living humans, this would certainly create a huge panic. It would be a major incident if, for example, 300,000 kindergarteners, elementary and junior high school students were killed in a year. It would be the same as the alleged massacre of babies by King Herod at the times of Jesus, or the massacre of Jews by the Nazis. I'm not sure about the exact number of abortions, but the number of cases filed in Japan amount to approximately 300,000 a year. If cases that are not filed are also included, it has been said that there could be as many as 1 million cases. A fetus is too tiny to say anything. It is aborted secretly without being able to resist. However, a soul is residing in that small body trying to grow as a human, so it is not good to take its life unilaterally. I understand that people go for abortions for unfortunate reasons. Some may have financial problems, and mother's life may be in danger, or a family may have become pregnant as the result of being involved in a crime. There may be different kinds of reasons that make it justifiable, or cases where it is inevitable. However, I do believe that if it is a case where a baby comes to a couple who love one another, they should choose as far as possible to give birth to it and raise the child. There is something wrong if hundreds of thousands of unborn babies are killed every year in such an affluent country where there is more than enough food and money. Spiritual problems caused by abortion. Nowadays, the baby hatch is in the news, a place where mothers who cannot raise a newborn are allowed to leave the baby anonymously. If people are not capable of raising a child on their own, there is the option for them to find foster parents and ask them to raise the child. There are many couples who cannot have children themselves and consider adopting, so please do not decide unilaterally to kill a tiny life that cannot resist. If all the babies who are waiting to be born could actually live on Earth, then the problem of the population decrease due to declining birth rate would be solved, meaning in Japan. If people followed the natural course of events and gave birth to a baby when they were able to, the younger generation would certainly increase. To solve this problem, I'm considering whether there is anything Happy Science can do as an organization. I would like to find a way as a religion to help support the parents who have no choice but to abort a baby by finding foster parents to help raise the child until he or she grows up. The number of cases of abortion is so huge that the angels in heaven have a really hard time taking care of those aborted children. If a child dies when still a fetus, the angels and angels to be must take care of his soul and raise it in the spirit world until it grows into an adult. Once a soul inhabits a physical body, its consciousness becomes that of a baby, so it cannot live as it is even after it returns to the other world. Someone needs to guide and teach the soul in the other world until it reaches the level of elementary school, middle school, and then attains the consciousness of an adult. If a soul can return to heaven, it will be guided in this way, but there are many souls of fetuses that cannot return to heaven. These souls wander around their mothers or their family on earth having no idea what to do. This cannot be helped because if their parents do not understand the truth, these souls will not be able to understand it either. If the parents have a spiritual view of the world and know that there is a spirit world, their children will be able to understand more quickly. But if the parents are materialistic and know nothing about the truth, then the child's soul cannot find salvation no matter how long it wanders around the parents. As a result, many misfortunes such as illness or accidents occur due to spiritual disturbance. This means that the aborted child is telling the family that he or she is lost. It is most likely jealous of his siblings, who could be born without a problem. So in many instances, something bad will happen to siblings where they experience an unusual illness or accident. So that's from this book, from page 54 to page 59. The next one is Healing from Within, and it starts at page 106. And there was a question that was asked the Master. And the question is, if we create a life plan in heaven before we are born into this world, what happens to a soul that is aborted and is unable to be born as planned? And here is Master Okawa's answer. Most people who choose to have an abortion do so because they are unaware of the spiritual truth of the system of reincarnation. Abortions have caused a lot of trouble and created confusion in heaven. There have been many cases in which people with important tasks were aborted, preventing them from fulfilling their mission in this world. Even spirits in heaven are unable to control the people on earth or force them to think or act in the way heaven wants. This is because God gave human beings the free will to choose for themselves the actions we take. For example, in the spiritual interview I had with Murasaki Shikibu, an 11th century Japanese novelist and poet, and the maid of honor of the imperial court, she said that she had planned to be reborn in the present age, but she couldn't because she had been aborted. In her case, her wish clashed with the free will of her intended parents on earth, and these people were more determined to carry out their decision than she was. Abortion causes a setback for the unborn soul. Today, the reported number of abortions in Japan alone is close to 300,000 cases annually. Including the unreported cases, it is said that the actual number could be as high as 1 million. This has wreaked havoc in heaven and ruined the life plans of many souls who are preparing to be born into this world. These souls carefully worked out the details of how they were going to spend the next several decades of life. When they get aborted while they are in their mother's womb, this experience inflicts a wound on the soul. This hurt develops into the fear that the same thing may happen again the next time they prepare themselves to be born into this world. If a baby dies after it is born and takes a first breath of the air, and if a fetus dies after it has grown big enough to have its own will, it'll have to return to the other world as the soul of an infant. The infant soul cannot immediately regain its original consciousness. It takes about 20 years for the soul to become an adult consciousness. This infant soul needs care and support from the other spirits who have spiritual ties with the soul from infancy until it grows up enough to regain its original state of adult consciousness. This is a great setback for the evolution of the soul, and that's why I believe that abortion should be avoided as much as possible. However, there may be times when economic, physical, or other conditions leave no other alternative. For example, abortion may be unavoidable if the childbirth would cost the mother's life due to her frail health. In life-threatening cases like this, they may have to regretfully abort the pregnancy. If they do, it is critical that the parents offer sincere prayers for the infant soul to grow up and mature to become an adult consciousness and to heal the wound that the abortion might have caused it. I believe that this is the least they can do for the unborn soul. In principle, we should avoid abortions, but when they become absolutely necessary, We should remember to pray for the happiness of the unborn soul. At the same time, however, it is also important not to become too obsessed about it. End quote. And lastly, another take from my journey through the spirit world. It's on page 174, and I'm going to quote 2.5 pages. And I quote, "Abortion causes confusion in the lives of many people. Human beings are born crying and die crying. Even the people who see them off cry. But often they cry because they misunderstand the truth about birth and death. If you think about it, doesn't it seem strange that babies are born crying? It would make just as much sense for them to be born delighted and smiling, but for some reason babies cry when they are born. Let me tell you why. Before being born into this world, babies have to endure 9 months of darkness and loneliness inside the mother's womb. So babies cry out of relief and joy at being released from their fear, anxiety, and uncertainty about whether they will be safely born into this world. In fact, they have been feeling insecure since before they entered the mother's womb. From the moment they began preparing in heaven to be born to their promised future parents, they have been worried about whether they will be able to come out into this world without any mishap. Today, an increasing number of abortions have become a big concern for souls that are planning to be born. Even if their prospective parents make a promise, they may decide to abort the child when it enters the womb. So these souls can't be sure whether they will really be able to come out into this world. The mother may decide to terminate her pregnancy because she wants to focus on her career, or because the father says that he doesn't want any children. The child's soul may call out to them, begging them to reconsider, but its voice cannot be heard. Abortion is one of the main factors contributing to the current low birth rate and population decline in Japan. So if we can reduce the number of abortions, we can probably solve this social problem. Japan has had a long tradition of infanticide as a result of extreme poverty and an inability to provide for children. Because of this tradition, Japanese women may regard a fetus as just another bodily organ that they can remove if necessary. This may be why some mothers do not think that abortion can have grave consequences and so do not suffer much guilt for having abortions. But in fact, abortion has become a serious problem that has brought confusion to the lives of many souls. Of course, there are cases when the parents have no choice but to have an abortion. In the case of a loving couple, however, it's best if they can give birth and raise their children if possible. Nowadays, raising a child is estimated to cost at least $1,000 to $2,000. But this is not a prohibitive figure. I hope that if the parents love each other, they will choose to give birth to their children. I'm sure those who are waiting to be born feel the same way." End quote. All right, thank you so much. So I've quoted 3 teachings from Master Okawa's English translated Kyotens. And as an opener, I said that I wanted to take this video and share out Master Okawa's teachings on abortion to give food for thought for both sides, the conservative, that's based on Judeo-Christian values, and also liberals who are seeking freedom and who wants to care for people's human rights. So for the conservative side, Master Okawa has taught us that in Christianity, it doesn't talk much about what occurs in the spirit world before birth. There's a lot of context about after death, but not much is taught about before birth. And unfortunately, reincarnation has been omitted from its teachings. Although if you read the Bible carefully, there are certain parts where Jesus refers to something like a reincarnation, but let's put that aside. So the teachings of reincarnation have been omitted, and the teachings of what occurs to the soul before birth isn't in there either. But as Master has taught us in this one, after 9 weeks, the fetus is born, or after you conceive, after 9 weeks, a soul enters the baby's body. So before the 9 weeks, it doesn't have, but it's abruptly 9 weeks. It's not exactly 9 weeks, just about 9 weeks. So that's one thing to consider. And if you think like that, I'm sure there will be a new way of looking at what's right. So that's about it for the conservative side. For the liberal side, this is my own personal opinion. Master hasn't really mentioned about it, but today I was walking around New York City, and there's a park called Union Square. and there were a bunch of high school, maybe middle school, some college students. I'd say about like 300 or 400 kids were there. They were doing an pro-abortion march, or like a demonstration. And when I saw that, I was kind of in shock, because all they were saying is like, a woman's body is not an incubator. My body is my choice. And when they were saying this, I felt two things: a huge lack of spirituality and a huge lack of responsibility. So what I mean by a huge lack of spirituality is what I just quoted from Master's teachings. They look at the baby's body as if it's like a pimple on their face. But it's not. It's a soul that's residing in their body. So unfortunately, it's committing homicide after the 9th week. So that's one of them. And the second one, a huge lack of responsibility. I really detest the Western culture where they talk about sex from such a young age now. And if you look at Netflix, it's so many inappropriate videos are out there. And I don't know about America, but in Japan, it's like there's a new statistic saying that the first time kids have sex, they're like, the average age is as low as 12 or 13. It's so messed up. And, there are consequences to the freedom that you take. And yes, if Master has said, right, there may be unfortunate cases where, such as a crime like rape, or the mother's life she may die by giving birth. In those cases, yes, unfortunate cases, there may have to be the option of abortion. But if you look at the trend in the United States of America right now, it's obvious that a huge percentage of the people are wanting abortion because of reckless sex, not thinking about the consequences. And if we are to justify people's irresponsibility to kill all these souls, we are against that. That is obviously going against God's teachings, and that is not creating a happy society, and that is just bloating up all of these kids' wants of entitlement without any responsibility. So that is a strong warning that I think Master would say. I believe Master would give us that warning. He does already in the Laws of Messiah, not particularly about abortion, but the decadence that's going on in the Western society by misusing freedom. So yeah, that is about it for today, but I just wanted to share with you these points. Like I said, this you can purchase at our temples, and these two, Kyotens, you can get it on Amazon, our temples, or Barnes & Nobles and other major bookstores. So I hope today's video will help both sides to give them some food for thought on what's a better decision to make. By the way, there was the statistics given in an article in Wall Street Journal today. It said that last year, 19% of Americans said abortion should never be legal. 32% says always legal. And then 48% said sometimes. So from Happy Science perspective, I think we'd be on the sometimes. Not always or not never, but sometimes. But obviously, we prefer that abortion will not occur. And we need to rethink about the irresponsibility of young people having sex, reckless sex. So that is my video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.